All right, here we go. On the last minute, as Bastion is, I can't even talk. Doing it on the last of, okay, I'm not even gonna attempt it. I was gonna say we barely decided the topic right before we got on, just like true to who we are. There, they came out. It finally came out when I stopped talking. Delancey's looking at me like I'm a crazy person. Okay. Anyway, we chose our topic because we didn't have a topic. So we're like, let's look. So there's one that kind of stemmed, and Delancey's like, okay, let's do it. And I don't know that we've ever like really talked about it. I mean, we have in bits and pieces in other episodes because Delancey did mention that. But I went out the other day with someone who was talking about, and I think maybe this is where I'm kind of thinking because we have a lot of people say, well, family first. You need to preserve. You need to not place for adoption
Mhm,
because family has to stay with family. Blood has to stay with blood.
mhm.
And I went out with somebody the other day and she was kind of telling me about it. And I don't know all the details because she just briefly shared, and I would love to sit down and talk with her more about it. But she knows people who were adopted for safety reasons. So, like the mom, I believe it was a grandma that adopted these kids because things got too crazy with this mom. She was not stable. She was not, all these things. Well, I don't even know if it was a grandma because I know that's like kinship care. But no,
Mhm.
no, it's because they went into foster care. They were in foster care for a little bit and then that's where it happened. And so they were adopted out. So they were put into foster care. And I know people are like, and I'm not denying anything that the foster care system could be better because it 100% could. I'm not saying anything
100%.
like that. And so to be put in foster care and then they were adopted out. But it's like those kinds of things when people are like, well, family needs to stay with family. And I know there's instances where safety reasons are huge too, but it's not always like the case. Like you can be, and that's one thing this girl was saying too. She's like, my own family is crazy as it is. She's like this girl emancipated herself from her mom at 13 years old. So this is
I
what
didn't know
I'm
you could
getting at.
legally do like I didn't know that was possible at 13.
You can't, but like somebody testified in her favor because of stuff that happened. And so the courts allowed it. And then her little brother was able to piggyback off of her and go with her because the
That's
situation was
bad.
so bad. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is like that's where it really and it still bothers me to this day. And I think it's probably one of the biggest thing that bothers me is when people are like, well, family needs to stay with family. And if you know me and Delancey's stories, our stories are so drastically different with our birth families, even with our family
Mhm,
families. It's just
mhm.
so different that it's like, who is anybody to say what they know is best for my story, what they know best is for Delancey's story? Like people don't. So my biggest thing is like, why? Okay, let me ask you this, Lancy. We'll go on to this. Why do you think people would not think adoption is safe?
Probably for the same reasons that they give as to why we shouldn't have adoption. Just I mean, which is the whole entire theory of blood needs to stay with blood, don't break up families, you're creating more trauma by destroying what was it someone said you're perpetuating destroying families, human trafficking. I'm just recalling everything that's been said to me on social media,
No,
which
but it's
honestly
true.
just makes me laugh because I'm like,
Yeah.
and it's so funny because it's just that's the only thing that I can think of that they want to say, and other people saying that their lives were destroyed from adoption. That's why it's not safe because what was it the one woman said, it took me 38 years to find out something meaningful about myself. I
Yes.
That
Yeah.
still sticks with me. Like I mentioned that to my mom the other day. That's the only thing I can think of is like they think it's unsafe because the statistics that are out there now and that people are using very frequently is that adoptees are four times more likely to commit suicide, four times more likely
I've
to
seen
end
that.
up in
Yeah.
jail and prison. And um I suffer with anxiety and depression, bipolar disorder, things like that, and with mental health issues. And I almost wonder, like, that's the only thing I can come up with as to why people are now saying it's not safe.
Yeah.
To like, it's not safe. Like they could be going to strangers, and the foster care system, like you mentioned, it's not as fantastic as it should be. there
Right,
are
right.
definitely opportunities within the foster care system, but it's a publicly run organization
Yeah.
run by the government.
Right,
So we
right,
see
right.
how well they do things now. So, you
Yes.
know, we're just one example, gas prices and groceries. Let's just throw that out there.
Yes.
Um, but that's neither here nor there with that's not getting political. That's just stating facts.
No,
You
it's
know,
true. 100%
it
true.
is what it is. That's the only thing I could think of.
Well, I just like, for me, I don't get why they like, whether you're adopted or not, you can get into a really hard family. And I'll always say that. But like when I think about like,
Mhm.
how people didn't find themselves or if they would have stayed or whatever, like with their families, like Corey's story comes into mind to me. If he would have stayed on the path he was going on, stealing
Mhm.
things, not going to school, trying to help his
Mhm.
mom, all these things to get money for drugs. Like if he stayed on that path and didn't end up in
Mhm.
foster care, I mean, he would be a completely different human than he is today. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And granted, he still got into a family that was still crazy. Does that make sense? Like
Mhm.
yeah, we know more behind the scenes because he talked to us about that, about the family that he ended up in. But it's like, I don't know if you remember that at all, like with
No,
his
I do.
adoptive mom. Yeah. So I'm like,
Yeah.
just, but his outlook on it is not like, oh my gosh, like this is, you know what I mean? He knows that like
Right.
you have the power in your hands. Like this lady who's saying it took her till she was 38 to figure out who she was. You are the only one that has that power to make a difference. And
Right.
I don't understand why people blame shit on it. And for me, I would never not think adoption was safe. And it probably maybe for my own personal story is because uh, I had a mom and a dad growing up. I had brothers and sisters. I always felt loved. I always felt
Mhm.
protected. I always felt my family would do anything for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't understand. And I'm not saying that people don't get in families that it's not like that. That's not what I'm saying. I know there's some real shitty adoption stories out there. But I think as a whole and a collective as the adoption community, just the ones that you don't hear about as much because people, I mean, you're starting
Mhm.
to see a trend with people we're bringing on. A lot of them have never talked about their story or don't hardly talk about their story because it's just they don't have issues with anything. So they're like, why
Right.
should I share? So the people that do have good
Mhm.
stories don't share as much because it's the people who are the negative people because they're like, look at all this traction I'm getting because I can shit on everything and people respond to it
Mhm.
because I'm like, my life is so shitty and this is so bad and blame all the people. And they like to just victimize. And I don't sit well with
Mhm.
that victim mentality. Ugh.
Well, and they've probably also been bullied too. Like what people try to do to us. Like they've been
Yeah.
bullied online or they've been bullied in public and
Yeah.
or even in private. Like some people will have like a it's always interesting to come across people who just want to make you feel like having something positive happen to you is a bad thing.
Right. Right. No, it's so
Like how
true.
I don't understand that. And it's always very interesting that the and it goes back, Melina said it perfectly. Like we know there are hard stories. We know that. We know there are hard stories. We're very much aware. We make room for the hard stories. We've talked about the hard parts of our own stories. Not every story is picture perfect from beginning to end for anybody,
Right.
anyone, biological,
Right.
adopted, whatever. Like it's not, no one has a picture perfect story. And anyone that says that they do is lying.
It's so
It's
true. So
not, I
true.
mean, they're lying, like flat
Yeah.
out, they're lying.
Yeah.
Now, granted, their hardship may not be the same as yours,
Yeah.
but for them, it was hard. For them, it was
Right.
difficult. But that doesn't mean that they have to focus on that. Like,
Right. Right.
I don't, and it doesn't mean that the ones who only focus on the hardships, like my favorite is the ones who tell us adoption destroyed my life.
Yeah.
Like, currently now, because, respectfully, you were adopted 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Right. No, I agree. I totally agree.
at what point do we take accountability for our own choices?
Amen. Amen to that. Say it louder. A freaking men. Amen.
Like, just saying. So I don't know. I just look at it like the people who try to say adoption isn't safe. Like, I don't understand.
No, I don't either because I don't like you can I mean, we can combat it all day. You can still get into a family that is not safe and you are coming from
Hmm.
your own flesh and blood. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Like
Hmm.
stories I've heard from people who have grown up with like abusive parents, it's like, but they're your biological parents, but people say families should stay together. But like, holy cow,
Hmm.
those stuff that you had to witness as a child, like, and
Hmm.
that's the thing. Like, same with this person that I was sitting down with, crazy. I mean, like, did I say it on here? Did I tell you? I don't know. Anyway, I think she emancipated herself. Did I tell that on here? I
Yeah,
don't know
you
if I,
just
okay.
yeah well we kind of hit record at a weird time, so
But
the conversation before and now kind of blended. So yeah, you said 13.
yeah, but like, I was just like, because I did tell her, I was like, the human that you are, I honestly never would have guessed because you have the biggest heart. You love everybody. Like you try to
Hmm.
do, like you would never know. And she goes, one thing I learned is you can either learn from your past and grow from it,
Hmm.
or you can stay just like the environment you grew up in, and then your life will just be hell. Like I was just like, so for her, yeah, for her to just like, and that's what I'm saying. She took her
Say
cards
it
and she
louder,
flipped them. Yeah, she flipped them. She's like,
as she
you can
should.
learn from it. You can learn from it and grow, or you can stay stuck, pretty much is what it is. And I was like, wow. Like, wow. Like, she's just an amazing human. And she, like, I just love her. But she'll also fight for anybody too. Like, because she's had to learn to have that grit and stuff. She's just,
Right.
I wish there were more people like her because it's pretty awesome. Anyway, yeah. No, it's just,
That's
so that's,
I find that so interesting because it's one of those things like imagine the amount of people she can help with that too.
and she does in her line of work.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, she does. Yeah, in her
Like
line of work.
that's that I always want to look at the people that like the ones that talk about how awful adoption is and everything. I always want to be like, what are you doing to like help others so with like
Exactly.
why are we living in misery?
Right. No, it's
Like who
so
wants to
true.
who wants to live that way?
No, I agree 100% with you. I agree.
And then why do you want to make other people miserable too?
Yeah, no, it's so true. Yeah, um, uh,
Like, I
yeah,
mean, it's if y'all weren't a part of that conversation that we had prior, but it wasn't adoption related, but it was essentially the same thing of the why do people want to live in misery and like why do they want to
yeah,
basically like just take the joy from others in their own little way.
yes,
I'm
yes,
sorry, but my joy is protected by my grit. So,
it's true. It's because
like,
unlike other people, we've put in the work to work on
mm,
ourselves and to realize
yep.
that, like, life's better than sitting in a shithole all the time.
And and not even making excuses for it.
It's true. No, it's so true.
At some point as an adult, the excuses have to stop and you have to be self-aware and you have to own it and you have to say, you know what?
Yeah,
Let me try to fix my part in this issue and
right,
move forward from it
right.
because and I think my dad actually said this last night and it's one of those things of you learn the most from it like you learn the most from your failures but you also learn from watching other people and
Yeah,
observing what they do
it's
and how
so
it
true.
affects you and others and then you decide you put in your little notebook in your brain and you decide what you want to do to help
Right.
others and not. And
Yeah.
what I don't want to do is tell people that they're awful for wanting to adopt. That's not what I want to do. Or tell
So
them
true.
adoption is not safe. Like I don't was that like is adoption like how did that conversation start? Is adoption safe? Is it not safe? Like where did that
I think it's just with it, like with my story, it's because I'm
Mhm.
international. And so I don't know if that's where it got taken, like kind of that way. Like, well, was it safe? And like, how is it safe? My biggest thing thinking on that is like, well, do people think it's safe for babies to go to different families because they're being ripped apart from their families, as people like to say, and then brought into these families? But it's like, there's so many people I know that are so blessed and love adoption because of what has happened in their lives,
Mhm.
well, not whether, when they have had ups and downs. Like, I think it's like, well, is it really going to be safe to take them out of that environment? And, I think with me, not, and you not being raised in
Mhm.
like our culture, like because we're, different ethnicities. And it's like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? If people want to, there's something I heard the other day that I love. If people want to learn about their backgrounds, let them, don't stop them. But if they have no interest in
Mm-hmm.
it, like that's fine too. And that goes with the same with like people, adoptees
Mm-hmm.
wanting to find their parents. If they want to find them, great, but don't force them if they don't want to. Like, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, I guess I could combat that with like, well, is anything safe? I mean, look at the world right now. Look at the world, and
No,
we're bringing babies into this world, and
no.
this world's like on fire. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if you want to talk about is adoption safe? Like, yeah, of course it is. And I mean, not everybody gets dealt the same cards, which is unfortunate, but it's like for me and my story,
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather have grown up with a mom and a dad, huge belief in God, siblings that love me, all the friends and family and cousins and whatever that I have now in my
Mm-hmm.
life. I know it would be drastically different if I was still in Columbia. And I'm not saying it would be bad, but I don't think it would be near the magnitude that it is with me being
Mm-mm.
adopted. And I'm so
Mm-mm.
grateful for that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's You made a really good point, and my mom made this point last night when I was talking to her, because I was telling her about what happened on Twitter, and
Yeah.
she went, "What?" And I was like, "Oh God, Mom, yes." I was like, "I've been dragged on Twitter, I've been dragged on TikTok, I've been dragged on Instagram, and I love my mom so much." She goes, "What does dragged mean?" I went, "Oh, that's right, generational gap. Got it. Let me help you." And I explained it to her, and she goes, well, what's stopping them from finding their biological families? There's so much technology now. She goes, a simple
Right.
23andMe would get you closer than anything. And I went,
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. She goes, nobody's stopping them from finding their biological families and going and reconnecting with them and being a part of them. Nobody's stopping
It's
them.
true. It's
She goes,
true.
because once you turn 18, you have the legal right to go and do whatever you want and find out whatever you want. And she goes, so if they'd rather be with their biological family, let them go be with their biological family. It's fine.
Exactly.
And I looked
Exactly.
at her and I said, well, what if I had said I wanted to rather be with my biological family? She goes, I would have missed you. And
Oh.
I went, what? And she goes, but you wouldn't have left us. She goes, she's like, you've always been our daughter. But like that was her point. She said, I would have missed you. And she's like, but you wouldn't have been
Yeah.
like you're ours. Like you're our family. Like that's period in the story. And she goes, if these people don't feel the same way, let them go.
Yeah.
And I looked and I went, yeah, I have a feeling it's easier said than done. She was like, maybe for the parents that adopted them.
Right.
And she said, but if they really feel that way, nothing's stopping them.
See, and I love what you just shared with your mom because a parent who's trying to do their best, who genuinely loves their children,
Mhm.
as much as you're like, excuse me, the hell no, I ain't going anywhere. But it's like, that's what a parent wants. Well, if
Yeah.
you want that, then yes, go. Just know I mad love you and I'm gonna miss you. But I just
Yeah.
want the best for you. That's how I interpreted it. That's why when you said that, I was like,
100%.
oh, because it's like
Oh,
I
she's
just want the
fantastic.
best for you because I love you, Delancey. Like that's 100% how I
Mhm.
interpreted it. And so that is where, these people may feel they don't. And I can see that because I mean,
I
I've
can
had
see
some
where they may
pushback
not
in
have that
my
same
story
support.
too
Yeah.
with parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're like the ones that um I guess I don't know. And I can't really speak for them. I guess they like struggled with stuff with adoption and they still have
Right.
supportive parents. Some of them do come out on the better end thinking, okay, I struggled with it for a minute, but I have these parents who are
Hmm.
awesome. They're full support of everything and all those things. And then they come to it like, okay, it is in my hands. And no matter what I do, my mom and dad are still going to love me. And I really just wish that for everybody, adopted or not,
Hmm.
is that you have that support from your parents because
Agreed.
right there, your mom's a prime example. Dude, I know you're not like maybe yes, no, but I would love to have your mom come on. I
Love
think
to
she'd
have my
be
mom on. I
amazing.
really would. I would love to have my mom on. Just because like I think she's so funny though, because she has so little tolerance for people who say stupid things on social media.
I love her for that. Like
Like
really, we should just bring her on. We
I think
should.
honestly, I'll probably end up talking to her a little bit more about
Okay,
it because
good.
I know we've talked about it. I know I mentioned it. I know we've talked about it and everything. And I think it would be helpful to have um her perspective on it just because she
Yeah.
did two different adoptions.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So especially with one, so like I don't want to say it's not late in the I wasn't late in the game,
Right. Right. No, no, no.
but I was. But more like, so many years after my sisters. Like I've even talked to my sisters about potentially, like one of my sisters about potentially coming on and just giving that perspective of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
one day it was a family of, five, and then all of a sudden it's a family of six, and they're just like,
Right.
hi, new
Right.
baby, here you go.
Right.
Um, but is trying to navigate things like that and their
I get that.
schedules. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, considering that I'm the much younger sister that doesn't have like children, and I'm running around to different
Right.
activities
Right. Right.
and
Right.
trying to travel and seeing things. And, my mom and dad do a really good job of traveling to see my different sisters with their
Support.
kids and stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, I will talk to her and
Yeah.
see. It may possibly be in the new year, but we'll
Oh,
see
that's
what we can work
awesome.
out with
I
her.
would love that.
I think she'd be great to have on here just to ask her
I do
questions.
too. Yeah.
She's so funny, like
Your
so
mama's
funny
always
and
welcome, so
straightforward.
you should bring her on. I would love it.
I'll
I
talk to
know
her.
I would love it. So yeah, you talk to her, you do the feels. Anyway, sorry guys, that got off on a tangent. I'm just like, oh, we're still recording.
I
I
just
think it's
realized
because
that too. I was like, oh God, we are still recording.
me and Delancey have been talking like all morning. That's the thing you guys don't see. We like lately it's been so much fun because we haven't seen each other as much. So we talk like probably 30 minutes before we record, and
We
then it makes
really do.
our episodes have got to be really short because we got time. But it's been nice because we catch up with each other, and it's just what we
Hmm.
need is to like have that detox with each other to get caught back up
Oh my
because
God, so
holidays
much.
and sports, it's so busy. So it's good. Anyway,
Yes.
back to what you're saying. Hopefully we get Delancey's mom on because that would be great to get that
Should
perspective.
be
But
great.
yeah. Do you safe. Do you have anything else to add about is
Yeah,
adoption
that was a
safe?
topic. Sorry, guys.
I I'm like, what we're talking about. Anything
um, I will add this. If at any point in time in your life that you feel as though you are unsafe, I think you're the only one that can truly make that decision for yourself, because you have that discernment to know if you're safe or not. Tell
yes.
someone, ask for help.
I love that.
I don't necessarily trust anymore society to make that decision for other people just based on the false allegations, a lot of them that happen. But if you I just that's what it comes down to for me, because I feel like safety is a very hard thing to guarantee with anything.
Amen to
Anything.
that.
I mean, I go to the grocery store and my head's on a swivel just
Right.
because I'm a single female. Like,
Right. Right.
and I've had other people tell me, "Oh my God, I've never felt like that." And I'm
Right.
going, "Well, I wish I'd had your life, because
Right. It's
I
different.
know the
Yeah.
reality. Yeah, I know the reality of of life. So I know the reality of the world today."
Right.
But as far as is adoption safe, I think adoption is just as safe as bringing biological children into the world.
Amen. Ooh, that's good. I second that. I second that. That was so good.
Pin drop, because
Seriously.
I'm not dropping my mic.
Pen drop. That'll be the new thing. Anytime you have something, pen drop instead of mic drop. Pen drop. I love it. I love it so much. No, I'm not going to add anything to that because I think it's beautifully put how she said. I think it encompasses kind of what we both are feeling, like, yeah, I totally will let her speak for me on that because I agree 100%. Like every situation's different and we'll always go back to it. Like adoption's not the biggest factor in it. Like, I'm sorry, but it's not. People like to say that, but I mean, and they can say that. And I'm not saying for some stories it might not be, but for me and Delancey, we're never going to be like,
Mhm.
adoption did this to us, adoption did that to us.
Mm-mm.
Like, it's just
Mm-mm.
because the way we've done our growing up and working on ourselves and just the way we see life
Mhm.
now, it's too, you know what I mean? So, anyway, okay. Well, on that note, anything else? Or are we good?
You're good.
Okay. As always, guys, thanks for listening to us and letting us ramble and go off on all the things because yes,
That's
that's
what we
just how
do.
we are.